Welcome back to another review of Dexter New Blood, Episode 8, Big Game. And Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you had a bloody great day and you're ready to talk some Dexter. And if you're like, actually, I'm a bit of a cheeky Grinch, which is totally fine. I totally get that. And you're like, get your bloody Christmas hat out of this Dexter review. Well then, maybe just imagine that it's not a Christmas hat, but you know, it's a hat that I just wear, but it's drenched in the blood of my victims. Too dark? So this week, it's Christmas Eve in the show, and they don't really, utilize that in any particular way, except for being like, it's Christmas Eve. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll bloody take it, guys. So like always, 3 big yays and then 3 big nays. Let's keep the festive spirit going and start with all our yays. Big yay number 1. Kurt and Harrison's father and son time. I love a fake bonding scene between two characters where the line is blurred between like the real bonding and the fake bonding when everyone's, got ulterior motives, but they are actually bonding on some level. So like, is Kurt, just using Harrison, or is he actually using him as a surrogate son because he's lost Matt? And those kind of lines are blurred and you don't know where each character is in each moment as they say and do things, but you know they mean other things, but then how much is this actually coming through to them on like a personal level? And that's really interesting. It's really captivating to watch. Both actors absolutely killed it this episode. This episode focuses almost entirely on this relationship. In particular, this really works in 2 sequences. First, the baseball scene. I really like how this scene starts off with just like a classic cliche father and son. We're gonna hit the ball together. I'm gonna teach you how to play baseball and we'll throw the catch together. And we've seen that a million times, but then it just takes this turn, this classic Dexter turn. And I loved how we saw Harrison kind of like break a little bit. Like we kind of see into his psyche in this different, interesting way where you see kind of how vulnerable and broken he is and how kind of self-loathing he is, just letting the ball just hit him and hit him and hit him. And also on the other end of that, a normal father wouldn't just keep throwing that ball at him, but Kurt, is a monster and he's just like, again and again, and Kurt's just like doing it, and it's just like this really interesting scene. I really like how it was one thing at first, and then it slowly turned into something else. There's a undercurrent of unease in this whole episode with these 2 characters, because Kurt's using him as bait, but they really are connecting on these small little levels, especially Harrison, so it becomes quite tragic as it kind of progresses. I didn't need the flashbacks though. I kind of hate it when a show is like, doing something that's like, a bit more subtle than usually. There's no dialogue explaining everything and it's all through like character acting and, just the subtext of the scene and just being able to read what's going on. And this scene was a bit like that and it just kept kind of cutting back to all these moments in Harrison's like, life or the season. And I'm like, I've seen the show, like I remember the show. I hate it when the show's like holding your hand and it's just like, maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe you need to be reminded of what's going through his little brain. And it's like, don't hold my hand. Don't pretend I'm not paying attention. Don't treat me like an idiot, show. So I didn't like the flashbacks, but overall, amazing scene. So, the dinner table scene. I love the idea of this serial killer posing as a surrogate father figure to Harrison. And he's having this discussion with him and he's kind of probing him and seeing, there's kind of this just like, I don't know, this rawness to Harrison this episode. And it gets more and more raw as he gets drunker and drunker off the scotch, that tragically is just to get him drunk so that he can put on his ski mask and do his ritual. So there's that underlying, feeling of just like unease where he's just using him as bait, but they are connecting. And particularly in the amazing scene where he's just like, whatever your passion is, whatever it is, no matter what anyone says, do it. Do what you believe in and follow your dreams. It's what every kid wants to hear. Like, what's your passion? Follow it. Screw the haters, follow your passion. And then it takes this incredibly hilarious, like almost farcical turn because it's Dexter. So of course it does. And it's a serial killer saying that. So we know that he, in his like heart, he's like, I'm saying this good thing to this kid, but when I followed my passion, I started killing people. Ha ha ha. And then Harrison's hearing that being like, he thinks I probably just want to like be really good at wrestling or whatever, but I want to murder people. And so they both have this like hidden dark passenger in this moment. And then just the absurdity that like Kurt's the surrogate father to Harrison, but Harrison's real father also has a dark passenger. It's just absolutely crazy. But I think the scene itself really, really works. I really liked it. I think the characters really shone through in this moment. Harrison's rawness and, his vulnerability as he kind of got more drunk and just was explaining to Kurt why he really did want to come, and he wanted that connection with Dexter. And it's so sad and so heartbreaking, even though Harrison's been awful and he is a monster. It's like, well, you know, so is Dexter. And so Dexter not revealing like that he's a dark passenger all season has been so frustrating and annoying. Like the show's just being like, oh, we'll get to it, oh, you know, and they're just like spinning their wheels. But now in this scene, at least, it works that he hasn't told him, so that we get this like pent up sadness and rage from Harrison. Which I really, really liked. Even though he definitely should have told him in episode 5, but I guess you could just have this scene earlier or something. But it's a really, really great scene, and especially how the episode turns after this, it becomes really tragic in hindsight. Big yay number 2. Dexter gets hunted in the woods by the Joker? Want to know how I got these scars? That's terrible. I'm so sorry. So Dexter's kidnapped, and obviously immediately he gets out of it because we can't spend too much time with this nonsense subplot. Then he absolutely rips up this guy's jaw, and it's utterly horrific. This whole episode with Dexter where he's running through the woods, it looks beautiful. I love seeing the woods with all the snow and stuff. Some of the cinematography looked really, really nice. I really like that. It really reminded me of an episode of The Sopranos when 2 of the characters get lost in the woods, highlight of that show. And another episode of Better Call Saul. It's in like the desert, but it has that same kind of running through like a desolate place. It's nothing on par to either of those 2 episodes. It just reminded me of them. But it was a little bit of fun. It's fun seeing Dexter kind of have to get out of a situation and, you know, maneuver through a situation. The best part was just kind of seeing him run like a wounded animal, which felt kind of ironic and, you know, fitting. But he got out of it very easily. He's just like, there's a shed. I'll go in the shed or whatever. There's a knife in the shed. Fantastic. And then the actual final resolution is absolutely absurd and completely ridiculous. And I kind of... sometimes this show does stuff and I'm like, what are you doing, Dexter New Blood? Oh, what are you doing? Like, if I didn't love Dexter for like 8 years, 10 years ago, like, I don't know how I'd handle this because some of the stuff is so stupid and dumb. Like... The Joker is chasing him and he's like comes up to a mirror, and then instead of just like being somewhere else or coming around the mirror, Dexter just like jumps and smashes through the mirror like a maniac. And yeah, he gets him and stuff, but he's just lucky that his plot armor is so strong that none of the glass that shatters everywhere doesn't cut one of his like, I don't know, arteries or body parts or anything. Like, he's so lucky. He's so lucky it's only luck from plot armor. It's not like, well, actually, it's like, no. It's just stupid and dumb, and he didn't die from that and bleed out there next to the Joker, because, of course he didn't. I mean, imagine that. It's been 10 years, Dexter New Blood, we're gonna fix the ending. It's 10 episodes. Trick, it's 8. He dies by jumping through a mirror to attack a guy who's in Joker cosplay. That's the real Christmas gift I wanted. An ending worse than I could possibly comprehend. Dexter's been really light on the murders this season, which it makes sense for character and stuff, but as the show about a serial killer, I really do miss those kill table scenes and those moments, so it's nice to see Dexter murder somebody again, which is an insane thing to say. Like, even as I say and I think that, I'm like, what a show. What a show to make me say and think that. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, it's nice to see him fall back into old habits. I kind of think that really works to set up what happens later. You know, just those slowly peeling back Jim Lindsay and bringing back Dexter, which I think should have been a more of a focus this season. Is we start with Jim Lindsay and then we peel back to Dexter, but it hasn't really felt like that. I feel like the first episode just went Jim Lindsay, now it's Dexter again, and then the rest of the season it's like, who's this? It doesn't feel like it was slowly peeling it back. I think a perfect example would be if you just look at Better Call Saul. I mean, to compare, Better Call Saul's perfection. It's a great show. The way they slowly peel back Jimmy into Better Call Saul, or Saul, sorry. I don't really expect that from Dexter. Dexter never really was that type of show. But it was very good, and I just don't think it's really holding a candle to the old series, to the original series, in the ways that I want it to be. It's great seeing Dexter back, but now we're 8 out of 10 in. I don't know, it's not the season I want it to be, but there's 2 episodes to go, so let's see if they can fix it. There's not enough time to fix it. Big yay, number 3. Angela finally connects the dots and realizes that Dexter, in fact, possibly could be the Bay Harbor Butcher. Finally, we're getting to that, that end game moment. We're in the end game now. And it's really exciting on a level of, I want this to happen. Would I love a character I cared about finding this out? Would I like a character with charisma finding this out? Of course I would. Of course I would. But every single second of this show that gets a character, specifically Angela, closer to calling Angel and being like, Angel, get your bloody ass back into this TV series to have your final showdown with Dexter to fix Dexter Season 8, is a big yay in my book. I really hope it goes like this. Angela calls out. Angel's like, hey, who's this? And she's like, it's me. Angel with an A. And he's like, what? And she's like, don't worry. The writers were really lazy and just added an A. But so, Dexter, he's alive. He's alive and he's my boyfriend. And Angel's like, what? He's like crying with joy. And then she's like, whoa, sorry. I should have finished my sentence. He's also the Bay Harbor Butcher. And then Angel puts the phone down. And then Angel has like an Avengers Assemble kind of moment where he goes to all the old Miami crew and he's like, I've got a job. We've got to go find the Bay Harbor Butcher, which is Dexter. And they're all like, glasses off, being like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And it's all heist movie, assembling the team. And then they all get on a plane and they're all like, to Iron Lakes we go! For a final showdown with characters I care about. Masuka's not going to be in this. I know it in my heart, but it's Christmas. Just give me this. He'll be in it. He's going to be in it. I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't even know if Angel's going to be in it again. It's just going to be one of those weird cameos from the classic kind of, like legacy sequel kind of shows where they're just like, oh, we got to bring someone back in the middle as a surprise cameo. Will it have any meaning and weight and will we use them properly? No, but he was in it. So everyone liked that episode. Not good enough, Dexter New Blood. Angel better goddamn appear. So we've had the big yays. Time for the big nays. Big nay number 3. We start this episode with a really underwhelming dream sequence from Dexter where he's just like lying in the truck like he hasn't been kidnapped and he's just like, I'm dreaming. And Harrison has this weird slow-mo kind of dream moment where he just brutally and horrifically murders all those jocks from last episode. I really didn't like it. It felt totally out of place. Such a weird way to start the episode. It's like, we know why Dexter doesn't want Harrison to become a serial killer, even though I think it'd be more interesting. Ever since that tiny smile for a second at the end of episode 4, it's like, I want to see that side of Dexter where he embraces that Harrison has a dark passenger and isn't just worried he's going to be a killer. It's like, you can guide him, Harry style. That's what the whole season should have been. It's so frustrating. And just to have this big over-the-top, like, throats being slit, blood everywhere, he's hitting people with baseball bats, blood's all over him. It's just over-the-top, gratuitous. A dream sequence like this feels like they wanted to add the body count, like the blood quota, like the horrific, like gory quota to the episode, but they didn't want to commit to killing any actual main characters or doing anything of consequence, so I really didn't like that. And then the whole point of it is Dexter's emotion in this, as it's his dream, and then Dexter walks in to see Harrison kill, and his face is just like... But even that was more acting. He was literally giving us nothing. I'm like, he couldn't even come in smiling or something, like... or come in screaming, like there was no emotional, like there wasn't a big emotion to it, so it felt completely pointless and I absolutely hated it. But honestly, compared to the other 2 big nays, this is complete nitpick really. Big nay number 2. Kurt isn't killed by Dexter. After a whole episode of surrogate father Kurt and Harrison bonding, but then it's not real bonding, it's all, like a ploy to use Harrison as bait, which was all spectacular, the highlight of the episode, and it was all building to this moment, this climax, and then suddenly it's happening. Kurt, who's an absolute dog and I loathe him, he's like, puts on his ski mask, and he's like, Harrison, run, and Harrison's all drunk, like, what did I do? I can change, and it's just heartbreaking, like, absolutely heartbreaking. And Harrison starts running, the ritual begins, he goes to shoot him, and then, on cue, like a bloody Hollywood movie, Dexter's like in the car, and he's like coming to hit Kirk, and you think he's going to hit him pretty good, he kind of misses him, and Kurt falls over in the gun, and you're like, okay, we're here. The showdown. Serial killer versus serial killer. They're going to fight it out. The moonlight lights the snow. This beautiful, epic, grand scene. Harrison, the thing they're fighting over. They're not fighting over it, but it's like this, surrogate father, real father, Harrison, that's what he's seeing in this moment. And he's standing there being like, my dad doesn't love me. This random guy loves me. But, and then they fight. And there's this big epic scene. And then Dexter's just punching him. And then, oh, wait, no, sorry. Kurt runs away and survives this episode. And then Dexter and Harrison just hug it out. What the hell, show? How could you miss such a perfect opportunity that you have completely and utterly set up and then you just forgot to pay it off? Like, this show has done this so many times where it does something incredible and amazing and so exciting, and then the next second when you're waiting for like the payoff and the amazing part after that it's set up and it's, you know, told you it's doing. There are so many like Chekhov guns moments where like someone's like, the gun's there, then someone picks up the gun and then they just like put it back down, and I'm like, what the hell, show? This is absolutely not good enough at this point. Why the hell didn't you have Dexter and Kurt have this amazing showdown? They're fighting and Dexter just like beats the shit out of Kurt and then he kills him. He's covered in blood, and then Harrison can look over and be like, oh my god, my dad does love me, but also Kurt was going to murder me, so clearly he's bad, so clearly Dexter was right all along. And then, while all this is happening, he can suddenly realize, wait, Dexter's a monster. Like, it would be like Dexter's like, you know, defending himself and fighting for Harrison's honor, but then it would turn. Like, there'd be a moment where Dexter just goes way too far and just like kills the absolute hell out of like Kurt. Like, he just destroys him, just absolutely like goes feral monster animal on him. And Harrison, like, his eyes light up. Maybe he just get a little smile in the horror of it all, realizing Dexter must be the same as him. And just the idea of it, like the setting and the visual scene of it all was so set up for this grand final epic moment. And I've been so annoyed that like it hasn't been building to something like this. And then suddenly it was happening. I'm like, maybe this build has been worth it. I'm so excited. And then they're just like hugging and like, oh, he left. He disappeared. Which then muddies the waters for the last 2 episodes, which has far too much going on. Oh my god! Which leads me to big nay number 1. Dexter finally tells Harrison that he has the dark passenger. Or he says like dark feeling or whatever. And you might be like, wait, I thought this is what you've been waiting for the whole season. Why isn't this big yay number 1? Because this is at the end of episode 8. And there is absolutely no time to deal or, you know, utilize or experience this storyline, this concept to its full potential. We have 2 episodes left. You've kept Kurt alive. We've still got Angela to deal with. We've still hopefully got Angel to deal with. We've still got the whole Bay Harbor Butcher reveal. There's still so many side characters. I guess the wrestling coach / cop has to have another scene or whatever. It's so frustrating. This whole season has been building up with Harrison and Dexter to this moment. And now we get this moment right at the end. Right at the end of episode 8. There's only 2 episodes left. And with so much else to like fit into this show, they're only really going to get 1 full episode. Hopefully episode 9 will just focus entirely on that. But even that, it's just not good enough at this point. So yes, it's great that it happened. But the scene itself was just like, oh, it's good it happened. But the scene itself didn't hit me emotionally the way it did. And I think it's because they didn't kill Kurt. Imagine Dexter's just soaked in the blood of Kurt. Kurt's just like, you know, his face is all mushy and disgusting. You can't even recognize him anymore. And Dexter stands over a serial killer he's killed that just tried to kill his son. He looks over at Harrison. Harrison comes over to him. And then we have the scene here and then. Not just a 20-second scene where he's like, maybe I've got a dark something feeling. Say dark passenger as well. That infuriated me. Say dark passenger. Like, please, that's what we're all wanting to hear. And have this big, epic moment with Dexter, Harrison. They hug, they embrace. He explains to Harrison, the dark passenger, why I had to leave. I'm a serial killer. All these things. But I have a code. Harry's code. My father. And I'll now be Harry to you. And all these things just have this whole big scene. And they're literally standing over the corpse of a serial killer he's just killed. It's over the top. It's way too dramatic. It's grand and epic and insane. But just with the moonlight and the snow and everything, I just think it would have been so epic and so amazing. Maybe the wheel spinning of this whole season from episode 5 to now would actually feel worth it with a huge scene, a big scene. And I'm not just talking about like they punch for a bit and then he like stabs him. I'm talking it gets dirty and gritty and horrible and it's intense and just ferocious and animalistic. And then we have, so you know, like as an audience, we're just raw from this horrific, violent moment and the cathartic Dexter stabbing, killing, or just whatever it is to actually finish off Kurt. And then Harrison and Dexter have this huge, and not just like a 20-30 second scene, like a 3 to 5 minute big dialogue scene where it's just all out in the open. And I know shows don't like to tell characters what we as the audience know, like if Dexter's just going to go through and explain his whole history. But I think, considering the whole season's been building up to this, you spend the time to deep dive into it and really get into it in this big epic moment, all looking beautiful. It's just covered in blood. Harrison's got some of the blood because they've hugged, and just That moment to me is what the show was building to. And now they essentially got like 9/10 of the way and then they just let Kurt disappear. And what's worse is it muddies the waters for episodes 9 and 10, which have so much to deal with. We're going to deal with Kurt as well as that? Like, oh, it's just... This episode was so good. And I think at this point, I don't expect the show to end, like, good. I don't expect to be satisfied by this end whatsoever. This was such a great episode, and then the last 3 minutes completely ruined it. And I just don't understand what they're doing. Why is this show so scared to deal with the concept they've set up? Like, Harrison is in it. He has a dark passenger. Deal with it. Like, I want a whole season of that. Like, I don't want another season of New Blood. I wanted this to be a one and done limited series. And I mean, at the end, when it's just in the car, it's just so awkward, and he hugs him, and it's nice. But in the car, Dexter's like, oh, maybe I should have just told him this earlier. It's like, yeah, you should have told him at the start of episode 5, so we could have had a great season of you two dealing with this, and all the ups and, the ebbs and flows of having a serial killer son when you're a serial killer, and like, you start training him with Harry's code, but maybe you're like, oh, wait, and then you change your mind, or, I don't know, there are just so many potential avenues, and now with 2 episodes left, I think essentially all of those avenues are dissipated and disappeared. And it's infuriating to me. I really think this show has missed an absolute huge opportunity. Just in this episode, it was working so well. And I could see what they were doing. Like, surrogate father, who's the serial killer of the year? Dexter's going to come and rescue him, reviving Harrison's trust in him. And it was all building and building. And then it kind of just falls so flat that it's just like, I don't know, it just stumbles and falls into the snow. Like your bloody drunk uncle at Christmas who's had too much eggnog and collapses into the tree, ruining Christmas for everyone. And everyone's like, we had a great time for, 8 hours, but that last hour when bloody drunk Uncle Benjamin or whatever, he ruined Christmas. He fell into the Christmas tree, he spewed up on all the kids' presents, and he ruined the whole thing. This is what the last moment of this episode felt like. And, I'm really scared for the last 2 episodes. I truly am. What a missed opportunity. So let me know what you guys all thought about the episode. Was it all big yays, big nays, a bit of a mix like always? As someone who's never really drunk eggnog, I'm curious, what does everyone think? Eggnog? Big yay? Big nay? Let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, all the bloody things, and check out my other podcasts, 2 Brothers, 1 Pilot, Top and Tail, and Spoiler Talk. Links in the description.